In this video, I am flying solo, talking all about the Disney theme parks, Apple, what this could possibly mean if, big if here, Apple were to buy Disney. What would happen to those beloved Disney theme parks? We're going to talk about it up next on OG 55. What is happening, everybody? Welcome to the show. Like I said, I am flying solo today, doing a quick little video on Apple and the Disney theme parks. So this morning I was watching content creator, actually one of my favorite content creators. I watch him almost every single morning, actually, Den of Nerds, Josh from Den of Nerds. And he actually discussed on his live show today the possibility of Apple acquiring the Walt Disney Company. Now, this has been a rumor. There's been a lot of smoke and talk about this for a long, long time. Like, would Apple be interested in buying the mouse? What would happen? Yada, yada, yada. It's been a thing for many, many years, especially during the pandemic when Disney stock price was super low. But even right now, when Disney's still going through it, their stock price is still super low. So there's been a lot of chatter, right? So I'm going to go ahead and play you a little clip from the Den of Nerds. And then we're going to kind of, on the other side of that clip, we're going to talk about this because there's a lot here. And I want to really focus in this conversation we're having today about what a potential Apple purchase of Disney, what that possibly would mean for the theme parks. Because a lot of theme park fans are not too happy about that. I'm telling you, it might not be as bad as you think. But let's go ahead and see what Josh says. And then on the other side, we'll go ahead and talk about it. Here we go.
But why would Apple buy Disney? I think Apple probably looks at Disney and thinks all that IP, all of those parks, we could integrate that with our technology and mostly hardware ecosystem. And that would be huge. So essentially imagine all the Disney parks being on Apple devices, so whatever thing you do or however you sign up to do stuff, it's all Apple devices. Maybe even they sell a unique Disney Apple thing that integrates with it all,
Okay, so this is fascinating. Now, Josh is not really a theme park person, but I think he's hitting the nail on the head. This is actually something that I've talked a lot about in many live shows with my collaborator and good friend, Vash Sky. We've talked a lot about this, about how, if Apple were to acquire Disney, what would it mean for those theme parks? What would that mean? We've talked a lot about Disney and their inability to really manage their tech, right? Their apps are horrendous. They're constantly crashing. Their website's constantly crashing. The magic bands, let's be honest, everybody, they're kind of pieces of shit. They're really, really cheap. If Apple were to buy Disney, I think this stuff that you're seeing, like the magic bands, which is what Josh kind of hinted at right now with the devices, would improve tenfold. No joke. I mean, that would be one of the things that I think Apple could really come in, step in, and really improve upon. Right? You would have a tech company, one of the most beloved tech company, I think, in the world, makes a quality premium product, now creating devices that you use in the park. Now, I know a lot of you are probably gonna go, oh, wow, well, if Apple created a magic band, that thing's gonna be super expensive and yada, yada, yada. Not necessarily, to be honest. I mean, obviously Apple makes an expensive product and a premium product, but I think that their R&D unit, their research and development team can find a way to create a quality magic band that could be affordable for the masses. Obviously, you wouldn't want $1,000 magic band, but I'm sure they could do something. I'm sure they can do better than what Disney currently has, okay? So they can do that. They can integrate, like Josh was saying, their hardware, their technology in these parks, right? And I hear a lot of, I think it was John Campea, he talked about it a few months ago about, well, why would Apple want to buy Disney? They wouldn't want to get into the theme park business, right? They wouldn't want to get into that theme park business. They're a tech company. look, Comcast is a cable company, cable broadband company. They stepped in and they bought Universal, and the theme park stuff is really the belle of the ball for Comcast right now in terms of like their earnings calls and everything. CEO Brian Roberts is really bullish on theme parks. So who's to say that Apple wouldn't have that same kind of enthusiasm for theme parks? And I would even argue that not only would they have enthusiasm, I think they're interested. I think they would love to do that. Look, Apple is a company that likes to innovate, right? Now, look, I've been critical of them really since Steve Jobs died. I think they've kind of treaded some water since he passed away. They've made some cool things here and there, but Steve Jobs really changed the world. The iPhone was really the thing that, next to the radio, next to the TV, the iPhone was the thing that really changed just society, right? And so when Tim Cook came on, he's okay, not the greatest. But with all that said and done, overall, Apple is an innovative company. And I could definitely see them being interested in kind of playing in that Imagineering sandbox, right? Imagine what their R&D unit could do for theme park vehicles, theme park technology, right? We've already seen just the other day, it was confirmed Apple bought the VR goggle headset company that created the headsets, the goggles for Mario Kart. Okay, so that's just tip of the iceberg as to what they could do for Disney. They could create hardware for like attractions like that. They can create ride vehicles, all kinds of stuff. Now we got this Apple Vision technology. They can create technology where maybe you don't even need the goggles. You walk in, you can see through windows, and there's characters outside of the windows. You utilizing that Apple Vision technology. There's so much Apple can do and play with in regards to the theme parks. I think they would be super, super interested, right? So it's very interesting to think about. But let's go ahead and continue with Josh, and we'll continue this conversation.
They probably want to think about, like, if you look at what they just did with this goofy ass headset thing. One of the draws was that Disney Plus is going to be a day one app, and they also figured out how to integrate that within the technology to make it look really cool. So there's like AR or VR experiences that are Marvel branded that will come out and be of value to Apple. So I think from Apple's perspective, Disney is a very good buy for them.
Yeah, and then he goes on to say right here,
Disney and Apple are already super integrated. They don't need to buy them for that. They don't necessarily need to buy them to integrate, but if they had full control, they wouldn't have to fight with Disney about the integrations. It would be their call. And I promise you that's valuable to the company.
Okay. Now, that last point is very, very important. Because I've seen it, and I have a good friend, Gator Fan. Shout out to Gator Fan. I love you, brother. We've talked about this on Twitter, and Gator Fan actually brought that point up, right? Like Disney and Apple already have a great partnership. Bob Iger was on the Apple board up until a couple of years ago, but they're already working together. So why would Apple necessarily want to buy Disney when they can just partner with Disney and things that they want to work with them on? And I think Josh makes a great point here in that when you own Disney, you don't have to work those deals out anymore. It's in-house. You have the freedom. So I think that's very attractive for Apple. I mean, it's very similar to Comcast, right? I mean, Comcast could have just partnered up with Universal and just made products or whatever for Universal Parks, but not bought Universal Parks. They could have done that. But they didn't. They ended up buying the entire company, and I think they're glad that they did. I think Apple, if they were to buy Disney, like what they could do, I really want to hit this home because what they could do for Imagineering, I mean, it would be insane. The amount of technology. I mean, now you have some of the best, like the best tech company in the world, right? Apple. Now you have that team working on all kinds of stuff like character interactions, AR, VR, ride vehicles, all that stuff. Like I'm sure the Apple team would be over the moon to start to play in Disney's Imagineering sandbox. Absolutely. And a lot of people focus on the content, right? Yeah, Apple wants the content too. Believe me, they want to be able to, have Disney's legendary IP on their platforms and on all their devices and all that. That's great. But I'm telling you, do not sleep on this theme park stuff, because I can see Apple really, really interested in this physicality. And remember, Apple's a hardware company. They're a hardware company, make physical products. So it's probably the physical stuff that they're really super interested in with these theme parks. So it could be, I'm telling you, it could be a total game changer. And it would actually also, I think, give Disney like a safety net in terms of, like, we all love the Walt Disney Company. None of us want to see the Walt Disney Company go bankrupt or collapse or whatever. But it's a scary time right now, right? And I'm not saying that they're gonna go under right now, but I mean, it's not impossible. If they were under that Apple umbrella, it would be extremely unlikely. Apple's got a freaking bajillion dollars of cash on hand. Disney would be safe for God knows how long. I mean, there's no worry about them ever going under, being owned by Apple. I mean, unless Apple decides to, after buying them, they decide to sell Disney to somebody else, maybe. I don't know, but I doubt that. I think they would hang on to Disney, and I think it would be a benefit to Disney in a lot of ways. Also, I mean, we talk a lot about like the CapEx and the money, the budgets going into like the theme parks. You have Apple with all that cash on hand, a bajillion trillion dollars, whatever they got cash on hand. Budgets aren't a problem. I mean, the amount of money it takes to build a quality attraction at these Disney parks is a drop in the fucking bucket for Apple, dude. That's nothing for them. These parks would receive so much money. Like, you wouldn't have to worry about any of that. Like, things getting funded. It would be insane, you guys. It would be absolutely insane. Now, look, I want to be on the record here in saying that if it's up to me personally, I would prefer Disney remain an independent company. This is Walt Disney's company. This is something that he started, and I would prefer them to remain independent. All I'm doing with this video is sort of kind of like dipping into the imagination a little bit, right? I want to talk to you all of you nerds and kind of get into your head and kind of thinking about the possibilities, though, if this were to happen, if they were to acquire the mouse. Yeah, I want Disney to remain independent. But if worst case scenario, a company like Apple were to buy them, it wouldn't be the worst thing. And culturally, too, I think Apple and Disney are very similar, right? Like, Apple has a very, very loyal fan base, and they're kind of their own genre in their industry. And what I mean by that is that they are a tech company, but at the same time, it's like they're almost like their own genre, their own separate thing, their own entity. Okay, they're very special in their industry, where Disney is very similar to that, right? Disney has a very loyal fan base. They're also kind of like their own genre. Like, you can have a Disney, it's like Hollywood, but Disney's like its own separate thing. You know what I'm saying? It's different. It's unique. And Apple's very similar. They share that commonality. And like I said, with the fan bases being very loyal, they're very similar companies. They have a lot of connections. Lucasfilm, Pixar, just to name a couple of them. I don't know. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but I want to hear from all of you. What do you guys think about Apple buying Disney? But more importantly, what do you think it would mean for the theme parks? I don't think it would be that bad for the theme parks. I think the theme parks actually would benefit greatly from an Apple ownership. But I could be wrong. I might be, a little Pollyanna-ish. I might be thinking a little too positive. I sometimes tend to do that. But yeah, if there's a downside you guys are concerned for Apple kind of running Disney and in regards to those theme parks, comment down below. I would love to hear from you guys. And I'm going to close it out with my 3 favorite colors: black, pink, and orange.
I'm getting kicked as a bad chick, hauling a roll like a grad chick. Smart mouse with dumb heat, like iced tea of OG, like iced tea of OG, like iced tea of OG, like iced tea of OG.